Some of the papers this morning lead with stories from yesterday's prayers at the Salah. Blueprint newspaper, Nigeria needs sacrificing citizens to fulfill her dreams, according to Tinubu. Buhari Shetima tasks citizens on food production. EFCC boss harps on relentless anti-corruption war. Details continue on the inside pages. At the bottom of that page, you'll find the story. Times report on Tinubu's economic policies misleading. According to presidency, says reforms already reviving nation's economy. The Nigerian Tribune leads with redoubled efforts to stop economic hardship. Sultan tells leaders at Eid al-Kabir prayer, Tinubu calls for love, charity to vulnerable. Atiku governors felicitate Muslims, advocate peaceful coexistence. Festivity call for unity in challenging time, according to CAN president. Prioritize needs of ordinary Nigerians, Methodist Archbishop tells president. Details of that story you will find on pages 3 and 5 today. In related developments from some of the stories you'll find already on the front page is this one on the front page of the Daily Independent. Tinubu inherited dead economy from Buhari. Presidency affirms, says president reforms, restoring investors' confidence. Nigeria now bankable again. Inflation to be tamed soon. New Telegraph has this one. GDP, how Nigeria lost 95 trillion naira in 5 years to foreign firms' exit. That story has details on page 3. 5 major companies left in Q1 24 as over 60 firms exited since 2020. Economy bleeding, Nasima warns. But what you have on the front page is a little different from all of this narrative of the Vanguard newspaper. Foreign portfolio investors in massive return to Nigeria. That's what you have on the front page of the Vanguard newspaper as its lead, as market share rises to 28-month high. Shows up external reserves. Analysts attribute development to CBN's hawkish monetary policy. Story has its details on page 21. And look at that story on minimum wage. Labour Tripartite Committee chair in verbal war. That story is on page 5 of the paper. The Guardian is making some kind of projections, you might say. Minimum wage debate. Market realities peg ideal minimum pay for Nigerian workers at 104,400 naira. Details are on page 6. And of course, all of the details you have on the front page right there pointing in a particular direction. Look at the front page of this Nigerian newspaper. Controversy as gunmen kill 4 fishermen, abduct 9 others in Anambra. Troops foil terrorist attack in Kaduna, kill 1. That's the lead story on the front page of this Nigeria newspaper. The Abuja Inquirer has this one on its front page. Fears over cholera spread. FCT yet to issue health advisory. Find the details of that on the inside pages of the paper this morning. Business Day. Nigeria's free trade fruit rots on the vine. Despite FX crisis, AGUA, AFCFTA gains go begging. Critics say country has no export culture. That's a big story of Business Day newspaper this morning. Find the details of that story on the inside pages of the paper this morning. And those are the papers that we have for you today. Well, I have a very, my attention is a little divided this morning on my picks, but let me start with what we have on the front page of this Nigeria newspaper. It's a sub-story right beside, the picture of people praying. Yesterday was Father's Day. Don't bite more than you can chew. Nigerian fathers advised. Well, please take that advice. I don't even want to talk about what's going on the front page of the Vanguard newspaper with Mr. and Mrs. this morning. So how can you not bite more than you can chew? What if you have already bitten more than you can chew and now you're having a hard time crunching the figures? I don't know how to take that advice, but, that's right there on the front page. But I'm drawn to the front page of the Abuja Inquirer this morning. And it says fears over cholera spread. The rider is a little more disturbing. FCT yet to issue health advisory. We had a very interesting discussion with the Director General of the NCDC on Saturday on Channels Television. And one of the things that I found from his conversation with us is that a sizable number of ministries, departments, and agencies, particularly at the multinational or the subnational levels, are really not giving enough attention to the important things. And he also expressed the concern that unless we readdress the issues that are making the rounds, particularly concerning cholera, we may have, one way or the other, tweaked our health policy or direction from being preventive to being curative, which buttresses what Kayla said last week about some states of, some kind of direction we have gone from being preventive in our healthcare to being curative, which is, of course, naturally a lot more curative, a lot more expensive, and can cost more lives than even money. I want to believe that the states are giving attention to this now, particularly since everyone seems to be on holiday now. You're not able to pay attention to them before. Now you have to. Cholera is spreading, and we know that these diseases, I think Mark has mentioned this a number of times, we know that these things are going to happen from time to time. The calendar is there, right there at the office of the NCDC. And I want to hope that in the ministries of health in every state as well, if we know that these things are going to happen, why do we also have to wait until they happen before we start spending money or crying wolf? The figures are not looking good, particularly on the people whose finances are already crunched, and who all the time, as Chamberlain would also always reference, have to pay for their health out of pocket. Very disturbing for me, but that's my take this morning, guys.
Well, Ayo, you took it right out of my mouth, I can say. I could have sworn that you were spying on me, but hey, you're all the way in Lagos. How is that possible? Because The Guardian also highlights about the same thing. I mean, that's what's catching my own attention here, the cholera outbreak. But this time around, it's where you are, because you were talking about the Abuja Inquirer and its focus on the FCT. It is very worrisome that is happening. It would seem all over the country. So it would seem that no part of the country has been spared, from what we now understand. Over 33 states affected already. But this headline on the front page of The Guardian says, cholera outbreak, provide water. UNICEF urges Lagos. So, I mean, I'm sure if they're urging Lagos and it's a solution for Lagos, it's certainly a solution for almost every other part of the country. Interestingly, I happened to have visited Lagos this last weekend, and a number of things struck me, which was the fact that I can see that, people are preparing for the rains. The state government has been preparing for the rains for a while, and so they have been clearing the drainages. But guess what? As we see year in, year out, they clear the drainages and they leave them right beside the drains. So you wonder, I mean, what sense does it make that we clear the drains and then we leave the rubbish right beside the drains? Wow. We do not prepare for the fact that, when we clear the drains, we have to take the rubbish away. Is this rocket science? And it happens year in, year out. I'm beginning to feel like, like somebody's mother having to nag them over what they know they ought to do, the right thing to do, you wake up in the morning, you're supposed to make your bed or whatever it is you're supposed to do in the house, and you wait for someone to keep telling you to do this and do that. These are grown adults. I don't think you need any journalist to be telling them what it is to do. If you clear the drains, which is a good thing that you're doing it, make sure that there is a truck right there to take the rubbish away. It doesn't make any sense that when the rains come, they wash the rubbish right back into the drains. And then looking at the state of a number of barracks around Lagos. I mean, just travel along Airport Road, going to the airport, or go to Ikoyi, or wherever it is that we have barracks for our security men. And then you have to now ask, what does it take for us to have a maintenance agency within these institutions? Because we know that anybody that has built an estate must have an estate maintenance facility. That is something that should be a no-brainer. Why should we see our barracks, the barracks to house the police, the barracks to house the Air Force, why should they look the way they look? We can see ceilings falling, you can see roofs, looking one way or the other, you can see the houses, the kinds of things you really ought not to see where our security agents are living. And that's how it is. And we're happy to be opening new places and making new buildings with no intention or no preparation to maintain them. It's no wonder that we have cholera breaking out. It's now a norm on our calendar. It's disgraceful. It is disgraceful because it's, as you know, as Ayo has highlighted, it's a preventable illness. It's something that if only we had proper sanitation, we will prevent. What will it take? It's not rocket science. I'm sure we are intelligent enough to fix the problem. Chamberlain.
Well, yes, but and that's why what the Sultan is saying on the front page of Nigerian Tribune, one is worried or concerned that it may largely fall on deaf ears. But the front page there says he's telling leaders, double your efforts to resolve economic hardship in the country. And that's what Sultan is saying. And, you know, a lot of these things may sound basic, but politicians, look, they'll be thinking about how to win the next elections in the first instance. And then thereafter, when they put their cronies in several other positions, so even if they come up with policies that appear good, it's difficult to distill and for the lieutenants to execute because first and foremost, cronies, not necessarily people who are qualified, are the ones who are in those positions, so they have a hard time. So they'll be saying one thing and the result out there is another. It is a huge ask. And so, but what they should know, maybe as a people, we need to find a way to hold our politicians a lot more accountable. Consequences, there has to be. Because it's almost a given that if somebody comes in 4 years, it's a guarantee they get 8 years. It's almost. And so no matter what you say, for the most part, if it's guaranteed, they feel they can stroll around some of these things. But look, it will be advisable for them to heed the advice of the Sultan on the front page of Tribune, because at the end of the day, if people keep going about like this, you can only push them to the wall. But when they will eventually react, look at what happened with the NSAS. Look, I know it's a controversial one, but there are aspects of that we shouldn't discard. They know where you live. They had details of what was going on. It was a matter of time. I think they say a word is good enough for the wise. Well, that said, we will be back in a moment. Stay on with us.